Hey, payday, you want payday? I know that. What does Canelo Alvarez think of Hamza Sheeraz versus Edgar Berlanga? Hamza Sheeraz just caught a body and knocked out Berlanga, something Canelo Alvarez himself did not achieve. In this video, I'm gonna break it down, and that's definitely what I want to talk about. So I've already made a post-fight video. It's called Edgar Berlanga versus Hamza Sheeraz, What Really Happened. It is part of my series, Often Imitated. Listen, when your boy Ego do something, others copy. I'll make my thumbnails look a certain way, people copy. I'll start titling my videos a certain way, then you'll see all the types of similar titles and stuff like that. So look for the Boxing Ego stamp. It's a red wolf, and that's how you know you got action. So I made the video, check that out. I'm not going over the fight in detail. The bottom line is Berlanga got his brains knocked out by Hamza Sheeraz. Great performance. He was a road warrior, and that's that. My question now is, what does Canelo Alvarez think about this? Because this is who you chose to fight, and you didn't do all that to Edgar Berlanga. So for me, this makes Canelo look bad. And I've told you guys, the Canelo Man fans got mad at me, but I had told you guys that Canelo was not listening to diehard boxing fans and actually picking the real person we all want to see him fight, which is David Benavidez, right? He could have easily picked David Benavidez, but he's skirting around. It's like little kids who they like pizza and they like cheese and the toppings, but they don't want to eat the crust. So they'll eat all around the whole pizza, but don't want to eat the crust. The crust in this example is David Benavidez. Or finicky kids, they want the steak, the mac and cheese, the mashed potatoes, but they don't want to eat their vegetables. That's Canelo Alvarez. Canelo will pick any and everybody but Benavidez, right? Smaller guys like Crawford, Jermell Charlo, anybody. It seems like he's willing to fight all these other John Ryder and Average Eardrum, all these different guys, but he doesn't want to fight Benavidez. Now, you look when he went with PBC, the guys he chose to fight, look at him. This is not aging well for Canelo Alvarez. He chose Jaime Munguia, right? And nobody asked for that fight. Jaime Munguia came from 154. Canelo himself came from the smaller divisions. But Jaime Munguia, if you watch him, he really should have lost to Dennis Hogan. He had a dumb hard fight with Sergey Derevyanchenko, somebody that Jermall Charlo beat exceptionally. And, you know, he had tough fights, basically. I believe the Rosado fight was pretty tough, things like that. So it's not like Munguia looked like a world beater at the 160s pound division, and he just kept rapidly moving up in weight. This is who Canelo decides. Then he befriends Munguia, and he becomes part of Canelo's team, and then he loses shortly after that. He loses after the Canelo fight, gets knocked out, joins Canelo team, as I mentioned, and then now he pops dirty for illegal synthetic steroids, right? So the Munguia option, that was a bad look because this is a guy who popped dirty. Then you look at Berlanga, and Berlanga, he looked bad. The first 2-3 rounds of this fight, not much was going on. Berlanga didn't really know how to encroach safely against a much taller opponent. And by round 4, he was getting crushed to the point where the fight could have been stopped. So it really didn't even need to go the extra round, and he was safe by the bell after round 4. So he really almost got knocked out in round 4, but whatever, he got saved by the bell. And then he barely got touched right after in round 5, and he went away because he had no legs. So this is who Canelo has been picking, and I tried to tell you guys, and people said I was the one tripping. They said, oh, Ego, you're hating. These are top shelf dudes. I even had people say Berlanga would beat David Benavidez, and I was like, nah, I don't see that. I don't see that. So what do you guys have to say for yourself, and what does Canelo have to say when his opponents are getting cooked? Now, I guess one can make an argument, oh, Canelo fought Berlanga and took his confidence away. I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be the only option, is if you think the Canelo fight took so much out of Berlanga, but it didn't seem like it. Berlanga went on this whole loss tour about how he didn't get stopped by Canelo, and he came back and got a second round knockout or something right after that. So full credit to Khamzat Sheeraz. He did what Canelo couldn't do, and he really made it look easy. As soon as he opened up, I could tell them exchanges were too dangerous, and Khamzat Sheeraz, despite being taller, he was sending some nasty hooks that had Berlanga's head going crazy far before the round where he actually got knocked down. So now Canelo is up against it because he has to fight Terrence Crawford, who looks like he's bulking up well. I've already told you, I believe Crawford is more skilled. The only question here is, how does his chin hold up, and how does everything that he's shown translate in the higher weight classes? But then after that, Khamzat Sheeraz, Turkey says, I promise Khamzat Sheeraz Canelo in 2026. So the walls are closing in. Even though he didn't fight David Benavidez, Canelo is still trapped. He's surrounded by difficult fights. Bud Crawford undefeated, so he's gonna have to figure that out. Even though Bud's smaller, you know, Bud doesn't just go away easy, right? So he's gonna have to figure that out. And even if he does figure it out, then you got Khamzat Sheeraz, a 6'4" Muslim dude that can box, that got power, that looked pretty big for 168, right? And he has some momentum. He's gaining some good experience fighting Berlangas and Adamas and Ammo Williams, and he stopped 2 of the 3 of those names, and these are like some of the bigger names that he fought. Ammo Williams and Berlanga, he stopped them viciously. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. And keep in mind, Crawford is Turkey's boy. So if Canelo does beat him, he's probably going to be looking for retribution. And Khamzat Sheeraz is definitely his boy. They're both Muslim, and he's also a ring ambassador. So Canelo Alvarez is looking bad for Canelo Alvarez. And then on top of that, like I said earlier in the video, he's getting outdone by younger fighters. Canelo hasn't had a knockout since probably Caleb Plant or so. Couldn't knock out John Ryder, couldn't knock out Munguia. And like, Canelo is getting exposed here because Caleb Plant just got beat by Resendez, right? So we're just going over Canelo's recent resume. Caleb Plant just lost to like an underdog who didn't really have like Canelo level experience. So there's that. And then after Caleb Plant lost to Benavidez, then you have Jermell Charlo. I'll set him to the side because he hasn't really come back and fought nobody, because he's been MIA since the Canelo fight. So we don't know what's next for him. But then you look at Berlanga, he just got cooked in 5 rounds, 4 or 5 rounds by Khamzat Sheeraz, who definitely doesn't have Canelo level experience. And then Munguia got knocked out by Bruno Sudace, a Frenchman with no power. So Canelo is being shown up by these other fighters who are less experienced, like Resendez, less experienced like Sudace and Sheeraz, and they're doing with his leftovers what he couldn't do. Even the John Ryder performance. He fought in Mexico against John Ryder, the visiting fighter, hurt him, couldn't stop him, and then his next fight was Jaime Munguia, who then turned around and stopped Canelo. So maybe this Crawford fight is difficult if Crawford everything he brings translates, because Canelo really hasn't been stopping guys, and he hasn't been looking dominant. Like, I would imagine a younger Canelo probably would have stopped some of these people like the John Ryders or maybe even Berlanga, you know what I mean? But he's not being able to pull the trigger, and then these guys go on to fight the Sheerazes, and they're finding ways to execute. Subscribe.